Hopefully this will start now. Excellent, 9:30. Let's give this a go. So, Ender 3 V2 was a great printer. I myself have 2 of them. This is the next evolution, the Ender 3 V2 Neo. Let's get this open. This printer was provided for me for review purposes, free of charge, no money's exchanged hands. Thank you to CrealityAU for sending this one over. I appreciate it. It's a fun opportunity to be able to unbox a new printer. Especially this is hot off the press, literally. This printer is available for pre-order in most places still. It's not actually available to have in your hands, so I'm quite lucky to be able to give you this sneak peek unboxing. I've been told that CrealityAU will have this printer in stock within the next month or so. They have quite a number on order. Let's get this going. So foam, nice padding. It's very very generously foam packed, which is nice to see. Yeah, this is very nice. Okay, so yeah, new extruded design. We'll have a look at that. How does this come out? Is this all one piece? It looks like it may be. Okay, this is all connected. Okay, hold on. I think that's empty. So yeah, in terms of assembly, this is going to be an absolute doddle because we have very few parts to actually hook together, I think. Hopefully this is all coming through okay. Let me hide that. Thank you to CrealityAU again for providing this printer for review. So the main box, really well packaged, tons of foam, so I have no worries about printers getting damaged in shipping. I have received a number of printers that have been damaged during shipping over time. This one looks like it's been very well packed, which is nice to see. This is the base unit, the bed that moves forward and backwards. This is the XY gantry. What else have we got in here? We have a manual. We'll have a look and go through that. CrealityAU have actually partnered with the Creality factory in China, and the printers you receive from them will actually be very slightly improved from this one. The main difference that it will include a genuine Capricorn PTFE Bowden tube. Capricorn are well known in the 3D printing market for providing premium tubes, and I'll come back to that one later on. What else have we got? Bag of accessories, we'll go through that. Power cord, very useful. Spudger tool, interface, and printing spool filament holder. Okay, and that's then the rest of that one there. Okay, so this comes already connected up between the two, so there really is not a lot to do except for bolt this gantry down onto this bed platform here. So yeah, it's a very simple process. I've done this a number of times, so I know what I'm doing in terms of the steps that are involved, but I'm very confident that if you put together an IKEA bookshelf, you can put together this printer. It's a real doddle. It includes a small sample amount of filament to do a test print with. We've got here some accessories, some tools. Okay, what I'm looking for first of all are these large, I think they're M5 bolts. These bolts are used to connect together the main bed with the XZ gantry. So the way I like to do this is to put the printer so these holes are over the edge. Makes it easy to access, and then grab the gantry, orient that correctly. There's very nice machine surfaces, so this gives a really nice precise fitment of the parts together. And then I'm just using my fingers just to get these bolts screwed and started through by hand. Once they're done by hand, I can then come back later on with a Allen key. And they provide Allen keys in the bag of tools. So everything you need is in the box. So having used the Ender 3 V2, I can already see that they've kept a lot of the really good things from that printer. Okay, that's one bolt in, Hold on one sec. Okay, let's get the second one in, and then it'll be more rigid. So yeah, 4 bolts hold the main 2 sections of the printer together. So it's a very, very simple assembly process. You can just see how quick it's going to be to get this guy up and running. One of the things with printers that are brand new on the market is often they have gremlins. I was quite concerned with the last printer I previewed with the Ender 3 S2. It had advertised some new features and they worked perfectly out of the box. So I'll be interested to see if Creality can continue their review unit streak with this printer and see how this one performs out of the box. So yes, I have not opened this printer up. This is live, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, last bolt. Alrighty. It's a really interesting challenge to make a printer as cheaply as possible. And we've seen that over the last few years. People have been trying to build printers for a lower and lower price. I think it's a more interesting challenge to go, okay, how cheap can we make a good printer? And I think that's what Creality has been trying to do with the evolution of their Ender 3 series. They haven't just gone, okay, as cheap as we can make it, and stopped. The prices have actually been going up, and they've actually been increasing in quality and capability each time correspondingly. So really, the choice is up to you in terms of what you do, because the older models are still currently available. So if you want to get the Ender 3 V2, CrealityAU has those in stock currently. But this one has a number of nice features we'll go through, and you can see what you think. In the box, you get some nice extra tools. These trimmers are really good quality. They're very, very sharp, great for cutting filament, cutting wires, cutting cable ties, all kinds of things. Okay, let's go through the manual and work out what they need us to do next. So, little warranty card, that's okay, we don't need that. After sales service card, great. So I'll talk about warranty and what's included in that. Some of the tools are not covered under warranty. The printer is, obviously. After sales team QR code, so if you need help, that's where you go. Manual. Okay, so what do they tell us in the manual? What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 12 pages. About half of that is in English. It's all pretty clear. As I did, first step, here's the manual. First step was to put those 4 bolts in, easy. Next step they recommend is to install the screen. So here we have the display interface, nice slow peel. Excellent. So it's got a rotary dial with a push-in button. It's quite easy to use. And then it's got these little nuts which slot into the rail on the side of the printer. And then you can then tighten those up with a hex key. I think we want the 3mm, it's 2.5mm. Let's find out. No, 2.5. I want this one. So that just bolts on here. I'm going to put this printer on its side, make this even easier. So just these little nuts rotate. When you get them in the right place, they will slot into the rail. Like so. We can have it wherever we want. I'm going to put it about there. And then I can lock those nuts down with the hex key. For easier access, the screen actually comes off. It's quite rigid, but that just comes off. And that makes it easier to get your screwdriver down in there. Let's get that in there. Yep, there's just 3 of them. I'm doing those up there. So yeah, just show the camera. 3 little bolts under there that mount that on. So a total of 7 bolts so far. This guy just comes back on and he slots on. In the meantime, this cable they have loose, that plugs into the back of the screen. There we go, and then that just slides on and locks in place. So, 7 bolts so far, what's next? We want to do the filament spool holder. This screw actually came loose in shipping, I can see. That just goes like the other one, like this, and like this. And just like the screen panel did, this also just slots in over here too. So again, just tighten those down. And what happens is when you tighten these down, those little nuts bite into the underside of this little aluminium channel, and that holds these parts in rigidly. Some people have the spool holder facing forward, some people have it facing backwards. I prefer it facing backwards for no particular reason. Okay, next step, cable connection. So each of the motors has different cables that get plugged in. I actually plugged this in before. This one here at the bottom is your Z motor. That's the motor that lifts the whole X gantry up and down. Each of them is nicely labeled with a little tag on it, so you really can't go too wrong. X is this one here. It goes in there. We've got this one here, which is labeled E, I expect. Yep, E extruder, that goes in there. And then this one here is actually the X end stop. It's a 3-pin cable, and that one goes underneath here. And that's used in the initialization process that the printer performs when the head moves to the end of the travel to know where it's located. So 4 cables, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, we're up to 9 screws in total so far. Stream is still working, which is good. And here it asks us to do something very, very, very important. So printers are made to be shipped globally. The power supplies they use work globally. However, the power supplies are not automatically a universal voltage compatible thing. They actually have a little switch, and you have to make sure you turn the switch to whatever voltage your country actually uses. Some printers do not mention this, and if you have your printer set to 110 and you come to Australia and plug your printer in, your power supply will evaporate in a puff of smoke, shall we say. So this printer is already set to the voltage for my country, so that's great. I don't need to do anything there, but it's important to check that. It should be checked by the person who ships a printer to you, but it doesn't hurt to just double check that yourself. Okay, so now we can actually turn the printer on. So that was, what, 15 minutes or less, and we're ready to go. So I have a power cord here, and we can plug this in and get going. I mean, I really like the old printers that took you 15 hours and 20,000 screws and bolts to assemble. I'm not complaining about this either. It's somewhat a nice thing to have less hassle. Hopefully that fan is not too noisy. Yeah, that screen's quite nice actually. Let me have a quick look at this. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna restart this. Didn't mean to choose that option. All right, so the next instruction it gives us is automatic bed leveling. So on the menu here, I'm gonna bring the camera in and zoom in so you can all see the screen. Give me one sec. Let's zoom in. So on the screen, you've got 4 icons and a knob. You turn the knob to move through the options and then press them in. It indicates that this 4th item is for automatic bed leveling. So automatic. Some printer manufacturers mean assisted when they use the word automatic. This is actually automatic. Let's try it out. Bed leveling, automatic. Let's see what it actually does and if it works. So on the printer here, there is a new feature for the Neo model. It's a bed leveling sensor. So that's what enables this printer to do its automatic bed leveling. This sensor functions the same as the famous BL Touch sensor. However, Creality have made their own version. It has a number of advantages. It's smaller, it's got a metal tip that does not melt, and from what I've heard from customers, from people telling me about their customers, people have been saying this has been more reliable for them than the genuine BL Touch. I have used genuine BL Touch in clones, haven't found a whole lot of difference between them, but I have found that if a printer is not designed to use a bed leveling sensor from the factory, it's often a challenge. The sensor itself is easy to use, but the noise and signal control that's required to make sure this sensor works reliably and accurately is not insignificant. So it's a really nice thing when the printer comes with this sensor installed from factory, and if it works, I think it's a valuable feature. As you can see, the printer's going through. It does a bed leveling measurement at 16 points. It uses that to create a mesh bed leveling grid, and that grid is then used to compensate for any warpage or non-flat surfaces that the printer has. Alrighty. The next thing it recommends us to do is to set up a offset. So the printer is measuring the flat surface of the bed. However, for our first layer, we actually want to be slightly above that, and it recommends us to set the Z compensation to 0.08 millimeters, or a sheet of paper's height. Okay. The next step after that, which I'll start getting ready for, it actually recommends us to download some software. So it actually, Creality have created their own flavor, a modified version of the classic Cura slicer, which they are calling Creality Slicer. I haven't used the Creality Slicer before, but I'm very familiar with the Cura Slicer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to download it now and give the Creality Slicer a go. Now, actually, I don't need to download it because it should be on the included SD card or micro SD card. And with the micro SD card, they include a little card reader. So that's easy enough. Okay, so I'm going to start downloading that while that does its bed leveling process. And it's done. Wonderful. So on the SD card, it looks like they have provided a test sample print file. I won't actually use their print file. I've got a different one in mind. I want to do something that will print quickly so we can get something going super fast. What I want to do now is actually load some filament up. So thank you again to Pantech for providing some filament for trial. I haven't used this brand before, so we'll see how it goes. One of the main cool things they do is they provide 1.2 kilogram spool filaments. Most spools come with 1 kilogram, so here you're getting actually 20% more, and that just makes it a better deal overall value-wise. Plus less wastage on spool shipping and everything like that. So let's try the, I might do the white actually. Might do the white. Let's see how this goes. Okay. All right, so the bed leveling's done. Going to zoom back out again. There we go. Alrighty. So thank you again to Pantech for providing some filament for trial. So, yep. Okay, so those of you who've stuck around this long, there's actually a promotion. I have been given a promo code. So, if you are interested in getting this printer, you can head to the CrealityAU website, and using the code PINCH5OFF, you'll get 5% off this printer. I think that's pretty cool. This coupon will also give you 5% off a number of accessories that are available for this printer. So, out of the box, the printer's great. I've put a link to a few different accessories that you can actually get as upgrade features for this printer. for the old Ender 3 V2, there's an upgrade kit for springs, like the springs that are used on this printer. These yellow springs, people can see those. Let me hide the coupon code for a second. Yeah, pinch 5 off. This printer has these yellow springs on the bed. These are a much higher spring force than the previous printers. This helps increase the rigidity of the bed. Some of the printers in the past have had weak springs, the bed wobbles, and then during printing you can get artifacts in your printing. The new springs are much better. There's also a link to a dual Z-axis upgrade kit. So if you want, this printer has one Z-axis that's powered. Some printers have dual, and this increases the rigidity of the whole printer. If that's something that you'd like to add on, there's 5% off that using the same code. As well as a enclosure. So say you're printing ABS, you can purchase a enclosure that keeps the heat in, and heat is key to maintain if you're printing with ABS. So the code on Spruiking also will give you a discount off some of those really useful accessories for this printer. So what I'm doing now, I'm loading the filament up. The first thing I need to do, I haven't done yet, I need to go to the main menu and turn the printer's temperature of the nozzle. So I'm going to menu, temperature, nozzle temperature, and I need to increase the nozzle temperature so the nozzle is hot. Otherwise, when I insert the filament, the nozzle won't actually melt the plastic. Next, I'm taking the filament, feeding it down through the back of the printer. Here we have the extruder. Now, I'll show a zoom in of the extruder on this printer. The extruder on this printer is newly engineered. And what I mean by that, it's now metal. The extruder on the previous printer was a plastic job. This one is now all metal. It feels really robust. I like it. The previous one was plastic and flexed a bit. This is really sturdy. The whole thing feels really good. So I'm just feeding the filament in there, pinching the clutch mechanism to disengage the gear, and then with that I can then feed through the filament into the tube. There we go. That's going down now. And now that's loaded up. Alrighty. So, it's looking good. And now hopefully the nozzle will be hot. So what I'm going to do is just raise up that head. And I'm going to feed through, so you can see I'm pinching that idler gear and pushing through the nozzle so we can get some hot filament coming out of the nozzle now. So that primed the nozzle so it's ready to print. Excellent. I'll move that up a bit. Alrighty, so let's bring this back and zoom back out. If there's any other questions about the printer, whoops, please don't hesitate to ask them. Okay, as you can see, there's a bit of orange printer filament on there. So this printer was obviously tested at the factory with orange filament. Let's purge that through manually until we see something white. There we go. There we go. Very nice. Okay, so new metal hot end, one of the major features. We've got, as an upgrade over the previous model, we have the bed leveling sensor, another big upgrade over the previous model. This model also comes with a magnetic spring steel bed. So once you've printed your model, you can take this guy off, and then that makes it really easy to flex the plate, get your print out of there, and then return it to the printer, ready for your next creation. There we go. All right. So I'm going to preheat the whole printer now for ABS. Sorry, for PLA. Don't know why I said ABS, but go back. So we've loaded the filament, put the printer together, done the bed leveling procedure. That's automatic. Put the spring steel back nicely aligned. I've got the software here. Since this is not ready, I'm actually going to put the test file, start the test file printing, just so the printer can be doing something, but I may actually stop it so we can do our own test file while I get the software ready. That's happening. I can go to the main menu here, print, and it has boat and rabbit. I like boats, let's do a boat. Confirm. And let's see how this printer handles its first test print out of the box. Let's see how it goes. So the software is on the USB stick. You can also download it from their website. I'm curious to see if they include Mac software as well. They may not. Let's find out. I see Windows software. I see instructional videos. That's nice. Again, one of the differences if you buy a printer from the CrealityAU website is that this printer will come with a, what's it called? What's the name of it called? Bowden tube from packaging here, from Capricorn. Capricorn are one of the very few worldwide known manufacturers of PTFE, and their stuff is highly regarded for lasting a long time. Regular PTFE will wear out and over time. Their stuff is well rated, and it's a distinctive blue color, which is interesting. So while this is happening, I won't change this now because we have this already loaded and ready to go, but just know that your printer will come with both this one as well as the original white PTFE tube as well. So it's a nice high quality perk you get by purchasing a printer from crealityau.com.au. And like I said, you get that 5% discount code. So yeah, the code ends at the end of August, so it's up to you if you would like to use that in the meantime. So at the moment the printer is preheating, the bed is warming up, the nozzle's already hot, but once the bed has heated up, it'll then begin printing. What's on this SD card? So software, and unfortunately for me, they only have PC software. Not a major problem. Here's one I prepared earlier. While that starts off, I'm going to get the Creality software downloading. And while that downloads, I'm going to get another print ready to go using Cura. So Cura is the regular slicing software that the community has created. Ultimaker have been the ones to drive that creation. And then Creality have taken that version and created their own modified version, which they're calling the Creality Slicer. So, download their Creality Slicer. So this is going to print that boat file. We'll give that a go. We may stop it. So the Creality Ender 3 V2 Neo is already on the website. So you can already download new firmware, new slicing software. It's all ready to go. Actually, on the website they have Mac versions. So let's just do that. Interesting that that's not on the USB stick. Maybe I can ask them to do that. So what it's done here, the printer has done a line down the side. That's a prime line. That just helps to make sure the printer has got any air bubbles out of the nozzle before it starts printing. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see this more closely. Let's zoom right in. First print out of the box. Let's see how it goes. So this boat actually appears to be the classic classic 3D benchy, which if you have done much in the 3D printing space, you probably will recognize. Let me see that even closer. Oh, sorry. There we go. So while that prints, I'm going to install the Creality slicer on my Mac, and let's see how that goes. So apart from the Ender 3 V2 Neo, there's also been another printer that Creality have recently announced. That is the Ender 3 S1 Pro. That printer has a direct drive mechanism, so if you're looking to print flexible materials quickly, that's a great option for those people. They also have announced the Ender 3 S1 Plus. This is a large version, a supersized version of the Ender 3 S1 that I reviewed in my previous video. So these are three new models on top of the S1 we saw last video. Three new models, and today I'm just showing off the Ender 3 V2 Neo. If you've just joined us late and have any questions, please chuck your questions in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. Okay, so that's all downloaded. It looks really nice. This is a first layer on this printer and it looks pretty solid. Happy with that for sure. So completely automatic bed leveling, and it's done a perfect job here as it's demonstrating for us now. Let's try the Creality slicer software. So there's actually two. There's Creality Print and Creality Slicer. I do not know what the difference is. I normally use Cura for all my printers. It's open source, it's well updated, but I'm curious to see what the difference is with Creality's own software. So Creality Slicer, I think, is their modified Cura. Creality Print looks like something completely different. So Scott says a retracted probe seems a little bit close to the bed. Yeah, maybe it is. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's probably two and a bit mil off the bed. I think that's close, but I don't think that's an issue. It's definitely at least 1.5 to 2 millimeters above the print surface, above the top of the print, that is. So I don't think that's going to snag unless there's a real issue with the print, and probably if that's happened, then the print probably isn't going well anyway. But it's a good point nonetheless. Yeah. The print's actually quite, the printer is actually quite a quiet printer. The main thing I hear is really the fan, and I think that is the hot end fan. Let me bring a microphone closer so you can hear it. That's the hot end fan. The main enclosure has a power supply with a fan somewhere else. But really, it's actually quite a quiet printer. Okay, so I've been advised, thank you Ivan, that Creality Print is the latest one. Technology, huh? So this is the Creality Print software, like you guys can see. Yeah, it looks quite nice. Looks more like the Prusa software. International, yep. Okay, I picked the Ender 3 V2. Oh, they haven't added the Ender 3 V2 Neo yet. They've got the Max Neo, but not the 3 V2 Neo yet. Let's just try the Ender 3 V2. Very similar printer, same size bed. A few sample models, that's okay. I actually have my own model that I'm going to do, which, let me grab that. That is where. Alright. I'm just going to drag that file into here. This is a cube vase. Let's see if you guys can see. Yep. Cube vase. Let's do it at 0.2mm resolution. And we have to choose to print vase mode. Does the Creality software have a vase mode? Let's find out. Profile, edit profile. Let's see. So infill we set to 0. Wall line count we set to 1. Advanced settings are in there perhaps. Experimental, special mode. I think we want surface. Spiral allows outer contour. Yes. Excellent. So that's, we've set this up now for vase mode. It's a bit of a different setup to what I'm used to, but let's see how that goes. Start slice. And now it's given us the slice preview. And it's saying print time 4 hours 9 minutes. All right, let's see how that goes. So I'm going to export that and produce that G-code file. And I'm going to go on the printer now and just stop that print. Confirm, stop. There we go. Printer's now homing. Let's see if I can get that in focus. Looks good. So again, one of the nice things with the Ender 3 V2 Neo, we have this magnetic spring steel bed. I can very easily pick off the prime line. We don't need that. Then to get the part off, I can just flex the bed and the part will pop right off. I recommend doing this when the print is cold, not when it's hot. Give the print a good couple minutes to cool down. But as you can see, you can do it when it's hot. The reason I say let it cool down is because if the print bed is at 60 degrees and your part is at 60 degrees, PLA actually softens at about 64 degrees. So as you can see here, it's actually quite soft when it's at that temperature. All right, I'm going to preheat this printer now for the next print. I'm going to grab that micro SD card. There we go. Get my card reader. And I'm going to load up that new test file and we'll see if that works. What I'm concerned about is whether it will do everything it needs to do because we're not using the V2 Neo profile. But this is live and I'm going to give it a go. No other questions in the chat? Nope. Alrighty. Print. Confirm. Okay. Nozzle's heating up. Bed's at temperature. We should be starting in less than a minute. Our next test print. So again, if you get the printer and you get it from CrealityAU, it comes with a genuine Capricorn Bowden tube, which should last you a long time. They're high quality Bowden tubes. And if you use the discount code PINCH5OFF, you get 5% off your pre-order. Okay, so the printer does its prime line first of all, just to make sure the nozzle's fully primed. There it goes. As you can see, it's not quite right at the start. That's exactly as expected. It does a full line, and that way the nozzle's primed and ready to go. You can hear the fan turn down for the first layer. That helps it get a really good bed adhesion on that first layer. Okay, I don't know what it's doing here, but it looks like it's printing a raft, I think. This is whatever the default profile is in the Creality print app. And I imagine that in the next week or so, they will have added the Creality Ender 3 V2 Neo to that software too. So yeah, 9 screws and printing. That's pretty good. Okay, so the V2 Neo, Ender 3 V2 Neo is in the Creality Slicer app. That's good to know. So at least that software does come with a profile for this particular specific printer. So let's try do the same print file. Yeah. And this app looks very similar to the standard Ultimaker Cura software. So, yeah. Okay, let's save this. Interesting comment, Scott. I will have to look into that for all the other printers that I use. Yeah, motion issues. I think it's probably the most key thing about the firmware is motion quality, so I will look into that. This first layer is taking quite some time, but we are getting there. I mean, in terms of first layer quality, that looks pretty gosh darn perfect. Let me just zoom in to show you that. So yeah, anyone who wants bed first layers look like that, that's out of the box. Let me track that there. Out of the box, automatic bed leveling, Ender 3 V2 Neo. That's pretty nice. So yeah, both the S1 and the V2 Neo both have the automatic bed leveling sensor, and both times for me now it's worked perfectly out of the box, which I think is really cool to see. Bed leveling has been a feature that people have been asking for the last few years. Since 2017, 2018, people have been wanting the printers to come standard with these. It's just a tiny little module. If it's set up correctly, it creates such a more pleasant experience trying to get your prints to stick to the bed consistently and reliably. I definitely like it. I don't have bed leveling sensors on all my printers. It's not a must-have, but it is a nice to have that makes it much easier to just whack a print on and walk away knowing the first layer is going to be stuck down reliably. Okay, so it's doing a whole second raft layer. I didn't know I was going to do that. Okay, in the interest of time, we know that works. I have another SD card here prepared with the print file for the Creality slicer, and I'm going to set that print to go instead because it will start that straight away. I guess I've just shown though the first layer works fine using the Creality print app as well. Prepare, preheat PLA. I'm going to take the bed, flexible bed off. This is just so easy. So nice to do this. Just take the bed and then very easily peel off the stuff I want off the bed. Whoops. And if you let the bed cool down, it comes off even more easily than I'm showing here. It's a nice quality build service. This material is a consumable, so it will wear over time. So just be aware of that. Once it gets degraded, you're finding things are not sticking, or you have accidentally damaged it with your nozzle or with other tools, you can just buy a replacement. And it makes it really easy because it's just magnetically stuck down. CrealityAU are also selling, I've been told, so easy, have been told that they sell a PEI coated bed. PEI is a bit more durable than the plastic material used here, and PEI is really good for working with other materials. This material is great for PLA and PETG. ABS works okay, but PEI gives you even greater adhesion. Okay, so that's done. Let me get that file in quickly. And let's try the other print slicer file. Let's go back. Right, print. Okay, now this is another cool thing. If you use the Creality slicer software on the Ender 3 V2 Neo, it gives you a print preview. So on the screen, it shows you a print preview of the object you're about to print. This is a print preview of the STL file. The G-code file, because this is a vase in vase mode, looks a bit different. Let's give that a go now. But that's just a nice little thing to see. So if you have like 6 different print files on your printer and you're not sure which print file to choose, if you use the Creality slicer, it will actually show you that nice little print preview feature, which I like a lot. I wish that feature was on more printers because that's a nice little thing. All right. So as someone who owns the original Ender 3 V2, this printer has many things that are similar. but it has those few nice upgrades that I really like. The bed leveling sensor probe, the all metal extruder. It's got the same silent stepping motors, which make for a much more pleasant experience if you have to live in the same room as a printer. It's got that spring steel bed. I think that spring steel bed alone will mean that I use this printer far more, especially for things that are hard to get off, like PETG. I might actually use this printer exclusively for PETG because of how much easier it makes that process. And we're about an hour in, so I'm going to wrap this up shortly. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat. And as I mentioned, thank you to Pantech for providing the filament that we're using today for trial. You can get Pantech at crealityau.com.au, and thank you to crealityau.com.au for providing both the printer for review as well as offering a 5% discount code if you'd like to pre-order on their website. And that code also works off the accessories that I've linked down in the description of the video. Those items will also work with that 5% discount. Pinch 5 off. So yeah, if you can't work out what that coupon code comes from, you can have a look at my name on the channel name. When it's this easy to get a printer going, it changes the game, because I think back to my first printer, 2012, I had to buy all the parts myself from different places across the world, put it together with very little instruction, configuring wires, hardware, software, the whole works. This thing, 9 screws, and it works. I downloaded a file from Thingiverse, I dragged it in the slicer, I chose a profile that they made specifically for this printer, and it starts printing. Like, it's really a doddle, and it really makes it much more accessible for people who want to start 3D printing. That learning curve used to be massive, and with this printer and the bed leveling sensor, the spring steel bed, it's just gotten that much easier to get going. So if you have someone who has a print farm and they just want to print high quality pieces all day long, this makes it much easier to maintain because you have that automatic bed leveling sensor. You can trust that your first layer will be more consistent each time. One thing I forgot to assemble actually was this little metal gear. This actually goes on the extruder over here, and it's used to, if I can find the right, there we go. It rotates and sort of shows you the motion of the extruder, and it also can be useful if you want to feed through filament manually later on. The printer also includes a spatula. This is useful for getting prints off the bed. Safety thing with these, never ever 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 put your hand in front of this. If you're putting your hand on the bed and you're shoveling, you will run a big risk of running the blade into your hand, and that can cause severe injury. If you're going to use this, I recommend putting your other hand on your wrist, so there's no chance of you making the mistake and stabbing yourself. That's not good. The printer also comes with a few other hex keys. These are great if you need to adjust or tweak or maintain anything. The wheels that ride up on these rails, they have an eccentric nut. That's what this one is for. It's for dialing in the tension on that. Factory setting is perfect here. I have no complaints. It seems all very smooth running and rigidly assembled, which is nice. Also has a small little hex key. This is used for, small little spanner. This is used for changing the nozzle. And I don't think this printer comes with a spare nozzle. Oh no, it does. This printer does come with a spare nozzle. That's a consumable part, so if that wears out, you can replace that as well. If it gets clogged, whatever else, you have a spare there too. And as I mentioned now multiple times, if you buy it from CrealityAU, you get the extra genuine Capricorn Bowden tube as well. That's a nice upgrade if you're buying it from crealityau.com.au. Thanks to those who joined me today. It's a pleasure to get to sneak preview these printers. I do apologize to those people who got to run around trying to find a working stream link. I did my best to try this beforehand, and it did work, and unfortunately the technical issues came back. So I think that was a bit unfortunate. But this has gone smoothly otherwise. If you're watching this later on and you still have questions, please put your comments in the chat. Please put your questions in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to you when I can to answer those. Thanks to Scott and the team who've worked hard on the Marlin firmware that powers many of these printers behind the scenes. Thanks to Ian for coming and saying hi. Ian runs an awesome Facebook group for space-related themed 3D models. So if you're looking for a model for a niche 3D character from a comic or TV show or book, I reckon Ian would be the person to tap on the shoulder to ask for those. So yeah, really nice first layers. I really want to see this printer print the vase, but it's taking quite a while just to get to that part. Let's do a quick and dirty. Let's turn the print speed up and just see how it goes. I'm going to turn up to 200%. This is a first layer, so this is a bad idea. Do not do this. Safety glasses on. The first layer, you really want to do it slowly to get good bed adhesion, but in the interest of time, let's just see how this printer handles a first layer at 200% speed. Still looking pretty good to me. So the manual itself looks good. It's nice and clear. I would feel confident I can give this to most people, and then they would be able to follow the instructions. If you're looking to print higher temperature materials, you may like to check out the Ender 3 S1 Pro. That gets you a direct drive extruder with a much hotter nozzle temperature. It lets you print polycarbonate or nylon. This printer can print PETG, ABS, PLA, PLA+, and TPU, slowly, TPU. So you've already got a range there, but if you want those high temperature materials, you can look at the Ender 3 S1 Pro. Thanks to CrealityAU.com.au for providing the printer for testing. Thanks for their Pantech filament that I'm using today to demo this. And thanks to all of you for joining. I'm just going to leave this printer printing a little bit more just so we can sort of see the spiral happening. But otherwise, I will be signing off shortly. Hey Tom, thanks for dropping by. I just saw the comment then. I may have missed that. When did you post that? Yeah, so this is the Ender 3v2 Neo doing its job. Automatic bed leveling. First layer looks perfect. Pretty happy with this. It's got the spring steel printing mat. It's got bed leveling sensor, silent steppers, all metal extruder. Comes with PTFE tube from Creality if you buy it from them. If you buy it from CrealityAU.com.au, it's an Australian website, then you get the Bowden tube from Capricorn included for free, really nice. Printer comes with sample filament as well, all the tools required, but here it's worked perfectly out of the box for our demo today. So pretty happy with that. Couldn't complain with how it's performed today. It's a nice print volume, the 250 by 250 by I think it's 280 high. So yeah, quite a good size for a range of prints. That's a pretty good first layer. I'm pretty impressed with that. Okay, so now we're actually doing vase mode. Except this vase mode doesn't look like I've set it up correctly. No. With vase mode, it turns the infill to 0%, but I think I needed to change the wall thickness as well to be one layer thick. It's doing like a thicker perimeter at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to let this print. I'm going to sign off from here. Thank you all for joining. Have a good night.